Well, good morning. It's been several months since I've spoke here. What's new? No, the morning, or should I say, morning after the presidential election, my mother said to me, she said, "Marcus, I know you're agnostic, but after this election, you might want to consider praying." I said, "Mom, after this election, it'll be a miracle if God avoids a large class action lawsuit. He's not exactly making the best case for himself here." No, it took me a while to arrive at my words today. Like most of you, I've experienced a roller coaster of emotion. There's spurts of hope mixed with utter despondence. And watching the news seems like a daily chore and masochism. It's not all terrible today, though. I've landed on cautious optimism, you might say. Philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau thought that in a real democracy, each citizen would be so concerned with the fate of the republic that at any sign of a problem, they'd fly to the assemblies to demand things be righted. Well, yesterday, they flew to the airports. But most days, to be honest, since early November, I keep waiting and waiting for hope to prevail inside of me, as it's said to be eternal, but these days it seems ephemeral. I keep waiting for our current reality to cease leaching optimism from my spirit. I keep anticipating a restoration of a sane country, a move away from this pandemic of the absurd. I keep waiting to halt the burial of my belief in a society I believed we were. And no, I do not at all mean to discount the magnificent displays of solidarity and civil disobedience taken forth last week when 2 million across the country, and most in this congregation, gathered in solidarity for the Women's March, nor yesterday's protests at airports across the nation against the Trump administration's poorly planned executive orders. But truthfully, I still continue to stumble around punch-drunk most days, dizzy from the blow bestowed upon us by those too consumed by their own economic plight that had blinded any gleam of empathy for their fellow Americans, and by some whose love of country was overwhelmed by a lust for hatred. And I know it's been force-fed to us over and over that there were valid reasons to endorse the presidency of a person who now occupies this White House. But I'm rather tempted to say that doing the wrong thing for the right reasons still amounts to the wrong thing and absolves no one from its consequences. I try hard to revive my sense of hope by remembering the spirit of those who came before me, the DNA swirling inside of me that belongs to former slaves and natives who survived the inhumane horrors of an institution and an unnecessary genocide committed in the name of a righteous destiny. Yet even today, I see the horrific ramifications from both those American atrocities, still lingering for people who, yes, survive, but still have trouble fully living in our society. Fully living in our society, free from oppression, persecution, free from fear. It never dawned on me how many of us took those entitled freedoms for granted, thinking them a natural default. But now we question the fragileness of those freedoms even for ourselves, as they are still in constant danger of disintegrating. Yesterday, I saw young men and women, legal residents of this country, being handcuffed at airports, having their social media reviewed and interrogated about their views about President Trump. I heard Americans who happened to be of Iranian, Iraq, and Somali descent saying, "Not here, not here. Never did I ever believe this could happen in this country." I saw obedient federal agencies simply follow and implement patently unlawful and unconstitutional executive orders without question. And yes, I know even today that as resistance grows to these grave injustices, you still see so many people, such as Kellyanne Conway, counselor to the president, say, as she did yesterday, that these things are just getting started. Those words transported me back to a conversation I had with two young children, a young girl and young boy my mother and I tutor on a weekly basis. Both are American, but I also happen to be Muslim and of Somali descent. 3 months ago, they asked us, why? Why does the president hate us? We're scared of what he will do to us and what he will do to our family. And I kept thinking, God, even here, even now, this moment can't allow these children their innocence. My instinct was to wrap them up in our arms and flee, picking up my LGBTQ brothers and sisters along the way, sweeping them up and evacuating this country with all of them. I didn't want them to endure what I am almost certain they will. Treated as abnormal citizens, hated for simply existing, the targets of a channeled, misplaced rage of those fearful of an evolving world. I was tempted to say the hell with it, to look at the marches taking place in America's liberal bastions and shout, unless we have the same numbers in Alabama and Mississippi and Missouri and Kansas, which we didn't during the unsuccessful protests of the Iraq War, what good will this truly do? Because yesterday's defense of an indefensible executive order showed to me that there are still enough people who refuse to advance towards progress, not wanting to be left behind, supposedly. It was interesting then that I found resolve to press forward in the unlikeliest place. From a person who saw greatness where I saw horror, in a vision of a future return to archaic times. I interviewed this man who identified himself as a patriot and a Trump supporter, who was able, at least to me, to do enough moral contortions to see divine intervention in a man deemed a serial liar, narcissist, and sexual predator. My interviewee said, any person can be used as a vessel for good. It can come from the most unlikeliest of men. America will be pro-life again. There'll be no abomination of marriage again. I don't have to fear my guns being taken away. There'll be God in schools, and terrorists won't attack us anymore. He said that none of this is due to just one man. It's not happening because of one man. He said, no. Today was born out of many todays of the past, out of a ceaseless commitment. This is happening, he said, because of a commitment to an idea of who we are. The same who we are is what we believe this country should be. And we believe that through countless defeats, myriad ridicule, and a world we thought had turned against us. Even now, he said, even now, you and your ilk rush to march. You resort to demanding anyone but Trump as opposed to someone forged from your unyielding beliefs, values, and principles. How fragile those things become when you return to power, he said. Because that is your problem. You don't know who you are. Once you get into power, then what? What is this world you truly want? Where's the affirmation of this world you seek? Hope and change is one thing, he said. It's easy to convey, but it's fleeting. Precision and execution is quite another. But those things are ultimately more durable. Our day has arrived, he told me, and we do not intend to relinquish it. Spit on us, curse us, call us what you will. We're not afraid to be who we are. Our time is now, and I never doubted this day would come, he's told me. Well, there was much he vomited forth that I couldn't agree with. Some of his words echoed true to me. Because it is true that our current president is simply just a man. And this is just one moment in our history. And all man and all moments, no matter how horrendous, come to their end. And this isn't to trivialize what is anticipated to be a repugnant presidency for many, but it does make me steer towards our future, asking just who it is that we will emerge as once this time is over. Because all those forces that seemingly culminated in the rise of this president have been alive and well before him and will be alive and well after him. And as much as we want to avert our eyes to the wrecking ball ravaging through our society, this moment is the most important of our lives, because this is the one we know we have. The one we know that so many have finally awakened from an apathetic slumber. This is the moment to be seized, to finally have a collective reflection, to face the truth of who we've become as a society, to who we are now and who is exactly we wish to be. This one is a moment where we can finally examine the truth, closely inspecting the claims we make today of not being isolated from the persecution of all of America's kin. Asking, will our admonishments of equity for all and radical love stand even after this oppressive executive branch falls? People say now that we need to find hope, that we need to find vision, that we need to find a new doctrine for humanity. I don't doubt that those things are true, but I know that those things will never properly materialize without us first finding our character as a nation and as a society, because that is a character that equates to destiny. To paraphrase Heraclitus, it is character that leads us to truth, and it is truth with its light that outlasts evil, no matter how unique its villainy. And we must trumpet that character. We must trumpet it so much that it blares no traces of a past marked by slavery, genocide, anti-Semitism, and homophobia. That's ramifications refuse to die. Who we are can be a country that embarks on an economic system that would never allow 8 men to control more wealth than half of the world's population. Who we are can be a society that exempts no one from the touch of America's kindness, lavishing its civility on all of its citizenry, where every unearned privilege concedes itself in service to the marginalized amongst us. It is this who we are, who we can become a society that can demolish our current social architecture that was erected so long ago and that continues to make the floors of some the ceilings of others, replacing it with a social construction that leaves no one outside its doors. Who we are can be a people who call wrong for wrong, no matter if it's conducted by a Democratic president overseeing drone strikes that kill innocents, or a Republican president who seems the embodiment of incompetence run amok. Who we are can be people who realize that there is no darkness so massive that cannot be subdued by even our small slivers of light. Because love may lose battles, but it wins wars. Who we are can be people who now awake and must be vigilant against slumber, an engaged, informed, skeptical citizenry, ultimately impervious to lies and the liars who weaponize false claims and alternative facts. Who we are is so much more than one moment. Who we are can write our future's history right now, today, this moment, this hour, this second, exchanging the status quo for what can be a future bereft of a past we were so scared to let go of. This vision of who we are is what made me stop running in my imagination with the children I tutor. It made me put them down and walk back with them. It made me stop quaking with fear. Made me realize that what I had found was something greater than hope. Because I found too much determination. I found too much determination in my Muslim brothers and sisters who proved yesterday that unapologetically existing at this point in our nation's history can be a fierce rebellion. I found too much love in communities of people who sacrificed their wages and their time and their stations in life to open their doors and hearts to people who just months ago they wouldn't have spoken 2 words to. I found too much courage in our past from the marginalized and oppressed men, women, and gender non-conforming who bled and fought and died and imagined for what we could be, even with no clear-cut evidence at the time that things could be transformed. Because this is your country, this is my country. Let that fact never be forgotten, never be taken for granted, never be surrendered to those unwilling to acknowledge our ever-widening reservoir of justice. Because there is no need to wait for a president or an army or a Congress or a Messiah. Choosing to be who we are is something we have agency in every single day we live. Every single day. And the day is coming when we will be who we are as a country, who we can be as a country, who we must become as a country. And on that day, who we are as a country will speak so loudly, it'll rumble so deeply inside the core of every citizen. It will rumble so deeply that our conscience, our ethics, our compassion will have no need to be expressed through words, because our character will resound so loudly that there will be no need to speak it. It will be enacted every single day. And that day will come. That day will reign. That day will triumph. Let us make it so. Let us make it so. Thank you for your time.